Hi, I'm Briana, and I'm going to walk you through a very quick abbreviated version of desktop land feasibility. This would be if you're assessing a piece of land to purchase to build like a home or to subdivide, to build multiple homes or a commercial structure, stuff like that. This is going to be very quick and dirty, but follow along, hopefully. And also, this is based in Western Washington, specifically Pierce County. Your county might be completely different. We have pretty strict zoning standards around here, so if you are somewhere else in the country, this probably doesn't apply to you at all, but thanks for watching. Okay, so first thing we're going to do here is most counties have what's called a GIS map. So you're going to get the parcel number for the property you're looking at, and you can find this parcel number typically by searching either previous listings like on Zillow or something, or if you go to like the county assessor website, you can usually find it by searching the address. So we have our parcel number, we've popped it in here. It's going to go into this parcel, which is right here. It's got the little red dot. I'm pulling it up. We've got a lot of different links we can click. Currently, we have nothing available to see. There's nothing useful, basically, for here except for like the land acre. The first thing I'd want to know is the zoning. So we can click on About My Property, and we can get more information about that. I've already pulled it up here. But this is going to be the parcel information about this specific property. So within this, we can scroll down. There's a lot of information. Some of it is not that important to us at this time. Some of it is very important. One thing to know is possible site constraints. Possible site constraints. We'll evaluate this a little bit more in detail from the GIS map. But you can see right off the bat, there's some there's an aquifer recharge area, which just adds like a little bit of restrictions because it's basically bringing water back into the environment. Like that's where rain is going. We have a fish and wildlife habitat, got a couple other things, a little landslide hazard area, county wetland hydrology, which you can literally see right here. There's a creek going through the property, so it makes sense that there'd be some issues there. None of this freaks me out yet. So then the thing that was more important for us to find is, where is it? Urban growth area, urban unincorporated area. That means that the county wants to develop this land. So they're going to be a little bit more amenable to working with you. The second thing that's probably the most important thing on this page is the zoning, which is suburban residential. So right now we go back to our GIS, we click on the property, we can see that we have 2.47 acres of property. Pretty dang big parcel, right? But what does that actually mean? Because all these houses look to be about the same. However, you scroll over here and you can see these houses are a lot more dense. There's much smaller pieces of land per house. So that would lead me to believe possibly there's been a rezoning that has changed the density of these lots. And guess what? There has. Oh my gosh. So now we go into, we found with suburban residential. So we're going to go into our county land use table. The county has this lovely thing, and most of it is on this website that's like county.codes.com or something like that. But it makes it pretty easy to find stuff. So right now we're on like the section 18, which is like land use, planning, that sort of fun stuff. And what you're looking for here is a density and lot dimension table, which is what we've got here. So we know we have suburban residential. This stuff is not super important. I mean, it is, but the most important thing we need to find first is our residential density table. So here we're going to find our suburban residential. Oh, look at that. Here it is. Wonderful. So then we can see we have a minimum density of 4 houses per acre and a maximum of 6 houses per acre with a lot size mean of 6,000 square feet. So what this means is not as simple as it looks. So you might do the math and think, oh, we can get like 14 lots on this property. Sure, in a perfect world, if you had sewer, water, completely flat, no wetlands, no landslide hazards, no other geological issues, then the county would want you to get 14 lots. However, we probably don't have all those circumstances with this lot, and we need to investigate and find out. But for right now, we know we need to get somewhere between 4 and 6 development units per acre. That means basically houses, lots that could hold a house. So that puts us somewhere between, if we're using this county table at face value, for 2.47 acres, usually they're going to round up to 2.5. Let's see, that's somewhere between 10 and 14, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly, with a mean lot size of 6,000 square feet. And what that means is they want all the lots to be roughly 6,000 square feet. Minimum is 5,000. So they don't have a maximum, but you can't have like a bunch of 12,000 square foot lots and then a couple 5,000. They want it to balance out to be everything to be about 6,000. Okay, so now we're going to be done with this table for now. Now that's a lot of information pretty quickly. We're going to move back over to our GIS map, pull this back up here, and right now this is showing us almost nothing. So we have to go over to our layers over here. So, well, first you can see, if just for funsies, you want to check out the, if it loads ever, we can see the aerial view of the land, which is kind of fun because they actually track it for like the last several decades. So like, okay, here's the current aerial terrain. Then they have, I don't really know what the ortho map is, to be honest, but you can see like quite a long time. There's quite a big history, like even back to 1945, which is very blurry and hard to see, but pretty cool. It's like tracking like the land over time via airplane or satellite imagery. So that's not important though. Data menu. So we want to go through these little checkies, and it looks like everything's checked, but it's not. That's a lie. You have to click the drop down and then individually select the items. And the thing is, you can select all of it at once if you want, but usually there's so much like overlays on each parcel, it becomes really hard to read and understand. So the thing that we're going to look for, number one, is going to be wetlands, because that's one of the biggest determining factors in Western Washington. And you saw when I clicked wetlands, which also has its own little drop down, so you want to make sure that's got its own thing too. That covered the entire parcel with a blue thing. That does not automatically mean, oh my God, there's wetlands, we can't do anything about this property. But if we click on it again, it's now showing a potential wetland review. That means all this area in this light blue color is going to It's going to need a wetland review by the county. And that's usually someone you're going to hire, like a geotechnical engineer, to do what's called a critical areas designation, which is an exam of the land to determine what wetlands exist, what types of wetlands exist, and what we need to do to protect them. So, okay, so then the second thing we've noticed here is now we have this little stream running through it, no surprise there, but it has these little extra little things around there. So we can actually click on those and find out wetlands, CWI. What is CWI? Not sure, I don't know. But it's something that's been recorded on title, and that's something that is going to need to happen. Like, they know that there's a creek here and it needs a critical areas designation. That's what that means. Typically, with something like this, there's a few factors to determine what kind of setbacks exist on this property. So if it is a fish-bearing stream, for example, you're going to have something more like 100 or even 150-foot setback from where you can build up to this like water line. If it's a non-fish-bearing or a seasonal creek, which would be like, oh, there's a creek in the winter and then it's dry in the summer, that's usually a much, much smaller setback. And I don't want to tell you exactly what the number is, but I think it's somewhere between, like, depending on the creek, as little as like 20 feet up to like 75, something like that. So that's where you really have to get a critical areas designation to determine what type of aquatic situation you have and what the setbacks are, because that could change your calculation a lot. If it's 100 feet, that's a lot different than if it's 20. That could be several other potential lots, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, so we're going to uncheck our wetlands because we're done with that for now. And then let's see if there's anything else we want to do. I like to do like a little check on like hydric soils, floodways. Obviously, you want to know if land's in a floodplain or a floodway, because that's going to change like insurance for one and the value of the land if it's going to flood every 20 years. You know, hydro bodies, all these little things. If nothing comes up, cool. I just uncheck them. I mean, you don't have to if nothing comes up, but I do, just to avoid confusion later. So then parcel. So right now, all we have is our tax lines. That's it. So things that are important to look for are easements, easement lines. I don't know the difference between easement and easement lines, but here, this popped up over here. That's not something we need to worry about, but that's something that is over here. And then also right of way. Oh, look at that. So we find out this road here, that this is the main road to get to the property, is actually a right of way. And then there also is an easement here running to the neighbor's property back here, which you can see some of these houses are what's called a flagpole lot, where they have, this is actually their property. It's not an easement. But in our case here, we have an easement running through the neighbor's property. We still own this land. We could still potentially do something with it, but what we cannot do is restrict it so that the neighbor can no longer access their property. They have the right to use this. Presumably, it depends how the easement is written. They presumably have the right to continue accessing their home. And frankly, in the state of Washington, you can't block someone from accessing their home if that's the only way to do it. So that would not be something you'd want to fight in court. Let's see, what else do we need to look at here? We can just click on, I mean, there's a lot of things we can click on and just to check if anything pops up. Another thing that's really important is going to be sewer. So we'll actually, we have zoning and zoning overlay here too. which that popped up something crazy looking. So that's our zoning, which is now going to tell us the same thing we already know, suburban residential. So that's just a second way to look at it. Zoning overlay, let me think if that's important. Nope, it's not. Urban growth area, that's a nice thing to know. Again, we already know, we checked that's an urban growth area, so nothing surprising there. You can check if there's already permits recorded on the property, which probably do, but this is a quick and dirty. Place of interest, not really important. Political boundaries, not really important. Not really important. Transportation, not really. Oh, actually, roads has some value. The reason why we care about roads is because the county really likes to restrict the width of roads that are available for you to use for subdividing. And I don't know the exact rules, but the more houses you have on that road, the wider the road has to be. So if I'm worried about roads, which I am because I can see this isn't a county-owned road, I'm going to go into my, I'm going to go to my aerial. And I'm just going to scroll in a little bit. I probably would want to drive this and see what it actually looks like, but it does appear to be, for all intents and purposes, like a standard looking 2-lane road that's paved. So that's good. Again, width is going to matter, and it's not something that you can determine from an aerial view without knowing exactly what the dimensions of this road are, who owns it, if there's a road maintenance agreement. But that's something that I would flag as a concern, is what is the access to this property, and how is this road treated by the county? Okay, I think we're into the final most important thing, which is utilities. Again, we went back to the perfect scenario where this property is suburban residential. It's flat. There's no wetlands. There's good road access. There's sewer. There's water. There's electricity. In that circumstance, again, they're looking for basically 14 or 15, I didn't do the math, lots out of this lot. Again, we have a wetland. That's going to be setbacks. That's going to reduce our total developable area by a pretty good amount, probably. I mean, we'd have to get a test to find out. We have a questionable road situation that could potentially blow up the deal. However, I'm seeing that there are other houses that are on smaller lots that are on the same not real road. So I'd want to look at the road maintenance agreement, or if there's any easements recorded about that road and access, because that'll tell you more about how the county's going to treat that. Okay, so then another thing we're going to look for is sewer, and unsurprisingly, this property does not have sewer. My guess is with something like this, there is oftentimes some sort of county agreement where if they want to bring sewer in, they have the right to turn this road into a county-owned road. However, that is something that could be 30, 50, 60 years from now. And you won't know unless you get the county's comprehensive plan, which is typically a 30-year document where they are planning ahead for the next 30 years of what's going to happen. And in that, it'll tell you if your property is expected to get sewer or not in the next 30 years. If not, it's very unlikely the county will want anything to do with this road until that point. Okay, so we're pretty confident we can check the sewer service area. Another thing that is useful to look at is just scroll out a little bit and see if you can locate like the most, the closest sewer. In this case, I'm really not seeing anything. I'm actually not sure where that purple line is. I'm kind of curious about that, but what it would do if you do see any sort of sewer access close by the property is you'd want to go in Google Maps or with like a real tape measure and go find out how far the property line is, the closest property line to that sewer line. Because if you are, again, jurisdiction dependent here, but broadly speaking, I think it's about 300 feet. If you are about 300 feet from the sewer line to the property, they very well might make you connect to it. And to be honest with you, 300 feet for a sewer line is a really long way. It's expensive, but you might get more lots out of the deal. So that kind of works out. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We can kind of look at a couple other things like storm drainage and that sort of thing. I'm not really seeing a lot. We saw it. We saw them over here. So these houses are actually probably, they have something else going on with them where they're on a bigger road, they're smaller lots. So whatever, I don't know what that is. The final thing that is super important is also related to utilities, and I didn't see it on here, and I don't know why, But the other way to find out is through back to our assessor data. This is like the property assessor page, basically. About my property is what it's called. And it typically will tell you, let's see, where is it? Somewhere on here, it'll typically tell you what type of, no, it doesn't. Okay, it's on another page. Somewhere on here, there's another page. And it might be, if we click on this again, we might be able to go to find subsidy houses, tester, maybe this one, I don't know. That should tell you if it has water or not. This one may or may not. It's questionable. It doesn't, water usually happens before sewer. That's a very different picture than sewer. But there's a few other ways you can determine what the, oh, hey, look at this. It's working. Building, maybe? Let's see. Well, it's on here somewhere. I'm quite sure of that. Anyway, I think it's on land. It's going to take me too long to find it, though. Oh, hey, look at that. Utilities. Okay, cool. So assessor treasurer information portal. We see electric, power installed, sewer, septic installed. So that's where like sewer/septic installed. We want to make sure with the GIS map if it's sewer or if it's septic. In this case, we already know it's septic. Water installed. This actually doesn't tell us very much. Water installed could be a well or it could be public water. And I don't actually know for certain. So for this, I'd want to go to a different, if I can't find it on this and I searched all the things in detail and I can't find it on the assessor treasurer, usually it is under utilities. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but you can look at like old MLS listings, like if it was on Zillow, Reddit, ask your local realtor, like me, and then they can find out that information for you. That is pretty much it. Please let me know if you have any questions. Guys, I forgot something also super freaking critical, so I'm going to put that back up and show you what that is. Okay. I should have been more organized about this, but I wasn't, and here we are. So, things that are the most important to look at. Again, parcel, zoning, utilities, particularly water and sewer, and wetlands. But also, I forgot to show you the topography, which is not in this data menu. It is in the background map. Terrain. Is it? Yeah, this is good enough. Okay. So what this is showing us here, all these crazy squiggly lines, is the further apart the squiggly lines are, the flatter the land is. And you can see they have like 520 feet, that's your elevation, and it's also 520 over here. So there's some squiggling going on in this area, which means there's some dips and valleys throughout. But overall, it's not very sloped. It's pretty flat. On the other hand, we can go over here and we see that there's like this very steep area right here. So this line is 530, this line is 520. So my guess is this grade goes up 10 feet in this span, whatever the span is from brown to brown. So right here, it's very steep. This is basically a cliff. Over here, it's not so bad. But that is also extremely important because steep slopes can be a critical area that creates exemption from the total building density allowance that you can have at the county. Remember back to that like 12 to 14 lot situation that actually might be 6 or who knows. But it also might not be, and that can sometimes be even worse because you have an extremely steep slope that doesn't quite qualify as a critical area by a geotech. That land still has to be turned into a lot. So that might mean you have an unusable lot, or it might mean you have a lot of excavation and retaining walls to do. And if you have a really, really bad situation, your retaining wall could be what's called a soldier pile wall, which is really expensive. They're extremely heavily engineered. A normal retaining wall is not that bad, but that's just something to keep in mind too, is obviously flat lots are better, but having some slope and variance to the lot is not a big deal, unless it looks like this guy over here. Okay, that's it for real. Bye.